Hey y'all, I'm Tipsy Flipsy, and today I'm going to be talking y'all's ear off about the pros and cons of reselling vintage and owning a thrift store. I owned a thrift store, vintage reselling store for about a year, full year of doing it, and I want to share my experience with it and the pros and cons, what I would do differently, what you should do if you're thinking about doing it, and what to plan for. Quick background on myself before we get started. I live in the Austin, Texas area, and I started reselling vintage furniture and small pieces, all of the above, everything in between, trash pieces, things I find on the curb on Facebook Marketplace about 4 years ago, I would say. And I basically would just find things I found on the curb is how I got started, and documenting, me doing this and flipping pieces, upcycling pieces, reselling them, what they're worth, their value, finding a really great piece, reselling it for a lot, finding something that looks like a piece of junk, redoing it, painting it, flipping it, reselling it, keeping things for myself, DIYing, home projects, all of the above. I've just been sharing my life here online. Something I've always said I've wanted to do is own a store. A storefront where I can resell all these pieces I redo. I find so many things. I want to save them. I want to sell them. I want to find homes for these pieces. And so I really never thought I would be able to do it, and I just thought the timing would never be right. I thought I would never be able to afford one. The thought of employees scared me, so I kind of just pushed away from it for a long time. But last year, this spot opened up, and I just instantly saw myself in it, and I really gave it good thought, had enough money set aside, but not enough, and we'll get into that. And I said, let's just go for it. I have no kids, I'm young, my husband has his own job, this is my thing, I can do this by myself. I completely went balls to the wall, to put it nicely, and I did it. And I worked every day for the last year, no breaks, barely enough time to do anything for myself. I had to tell a lot of people no to special occasions, and say no to a lot of things I wanted to do, just because this had to be my #1 priority and my baby. It was like having a baby for a year, honestly. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was worried about it the whole time. I invested all my money into it, my time, my energy, myself. So comparing it to a baby is the best way to put it. If you ask my brother, who was mad at me for not attending a lot of his events in life the past year, he would get mad at me for saying that it's my baby, and he is mad at me for saying it's my baby. If you're gonna do something like this, just know that people are gonna get mad, and you're gonna see who is really there for you and who is willing to be understanding of this journey you're about to go on and what it takes. And those people around you just have to accept that you may not be able to do the things that you want to do, but you just can't. It's gonna take a lot out of you. So let's just get that out of the way. It's just, it goes into the pros and cons of this, really, truly. Just surround yourself with people that are supportive if you're gonna take something like this on. Okay, I wanna start with the pros and not get negative about it immediately. But like everything, there's pros and there's cons. So, owning a thrift store, owning a vintage reselling store, whatever you do, whatever it is, here are the 10 pros I would say of owning a storefront. #1, it's a dream come true. It's probably something you've always dreamt about, you never thought could happen, and when it finally happens, it's surreal, it's a dream come true. And I don't know about you, but when I have something good happen to me, it's almost like I disassociate. I'm like, is this happening? It's a blur. It's a blur. So like looking back, I feel like I almost didn't appreciate that moment. And I wish I did. A year later, I wish I did. But I can talk about it here now and try and be better the next time something like this happens where a dream comes true. If this is something you've done or want to do, and it's a passion that you want to turn into a business, do it, but maybe not do it to this full extent, like opening up a storefront immediately. Explore other options, we'll get into that. But yeah, like anything in life, if you have a passion for something and you finally do something you've always wanted to do, it's very rewarding. So I would say that's the #1 pro to doing this. #2, meeting the coolest people. I have to say, I think that was one of the best parts about owning a store, is the foot traffic, the people, the places, the conversations you'll have, the connections you'll make. I loved having that energy throughout my day of just talking to a stranger and engaging and knowing more about people and life. It really energized me. It pumped me up. If I had a great conversation with someone and they bought something for me, or even if they didn't buy something and they just sat there and talked to me for at least a minute and asked how my day was going and I asked about them, seriously, that is one of the greatest things on earth, and people just need more of it and they don't even realize. Just human connection, I would say that's number 2 on my list of pros. If you're in a job that you may not like and you're feeling like you're not getting enough of that, I would highly recommend exploring an option where you can talk to people like retail. Some people don't like retail, but the retail part of talking to people, and don't get me wrong, there were some Karens, there were some people I didn't like talking to. There were some people I just wanted to pull my hair out and say, get out, for sure. But the good ones definitely outweigh the bad. And I remember the good more than the bad, to be honest. So that's number 2 on my list. Number 3. This was the fun part of it all. It was just me. I had no employees, just me. I was in control of completely everything, right? How the store was laid out, how I list things, how I sell things, the prices, the numbers, everything, the design. And that alone is something that I enjoy. Even in my own home, when I go to other people's house or just shopping and thrifting, exploring places, I love admiring all the details and designs on things and just everything. I love interior design, I love designing, I love paint, I love colors, I love thrifting, I love old, I love new. I really like everything about design. Designing the store was so fun. It was this blank canvas, right? The walls were gray, the floors were gray. I painted that door pink day 1. I put wallpaper up day 2. I did a mural day 3. I got to work. I just thought I have to make this place feel fun. People need to walk in and they need to remember that pink door. And they need to remember that this place has cool stuff because there's a cool girl running it. And she took time to paint these walls. It made you feel like you were having a vintage groovy experience every time you walked in. So for me, that was the funnest part, is just immediately having that creative ability and control over the entire place to make it the way I wanted it. I have no regrets about how I designed that place and how it turned out. Now, having to repaint all the walls and take off all the wallpaper and fix all the walls and fill in the holes of all the nails I put in that place, oh, I would have thought about it differently, but no regrets. It's a pro. I did get my security deposit back because I left that place spotless. Not to brag, I just had to throw it in there because I didn't think I was when I first started painting the walls, but I did, and I worked really hard to get that security deposit back. Number 4, surprising yourself. I didn't realize what I was capable of until I had this store. My creative abilities, you're gonna have to find creativity in all things, and you're gonna have to be flexible. Your life is in other people's hands. If they need to meet you at this time for a face marketplace pickup and it's a great sell and it's money in your pocket, you're gonna have to give up what you wanted to do that night and go meet them, you know? But regardless, it was a pro. The pros of this was having that flexibility. This is my full-time job. I don't have a job outside of this. I'm giving this my all. I can meet you because I'm not sitting at a desk. So yep, wherever you wanna meet, buddy, it's in your hands. So I would say having the flexibility is great. It's great. Just making sure you're able to supplement your income doing this, that's the part you gotta figure out. Accessing this creativity inside me was really cool, and it kind of goes along with number 3, which is the designing part. But just every day was a learning curve, and I felt like I was learning so much, and I kind of like lost that fear inside of me that I had, of course, going into this, because I didn't know what I was capable of. I'd already gotten this far, so there's so much to look forward to. And that fear just went away, and creativity and motivation just took over for sure. Didn't know that was something I had in me, so I learned that early on, and I think it's something I'm gonna carry with me throughout my life, career, this, social media, talking to you guys and helping you guys and sharing my experience throughout the rest of my life. Number 5, I would say helping support sustainability was number 5 on my pros list of owning a store. I am literally saving things from the trash, or I'm saving things that no one wants and I'm redoing them and I'm giving them a new life. And it's really rewarding. You know, you think about something that someone loves and they bought that would have been thrown away. If you go to my page, you'll see that I save so much stuff from the curb. And it's astounding what people throw away, but it's also amazing what people want to buy that was trash. And I would have to be honest with them. Sometimes they would ask me, where'd you get this? I love it. They would want to know a backstory. Sometimes I will be honest, I got that from the curb, but I saved it, I cleaned it, I redid it for you. And people love it. People actually love that you're helping the environment and you're recycling these pieces, and it blows their mind at what is thrown away. And I even give them, you know, my social media, follow me, see what I find. People want to know what is going to the dump and what is being saved. When I say sometimes, it's sometimes meaning when people would ask. I'm not just immediately gonna be like, yeah, I found this in the trash. But people do wonder that question, and I wanted to answer it real quick. But that's a pro of it, for sure, is saving the environment. Number 6 on the pros list, being a part of the community. I started to meet a lot of people and getting involved in things around where I lived, and just knowing, connecting, and having somewhere to be, or having someone's number if I needed something. I really love that aspect of it. But it was really cool just like going to the grocery store and seeing someone I knew and like having small talk. And I really enjoyed that part of it, feeling like I was a part of where I live. And I still feel that way, and I still talk to people even after so. And a lot of people were sad that I was shutting down, but totally understanding. It's important that your community shops small and gives back, and I realized that. I don't feel like I had that understanding before. I'll be honest. They say support small businesses, but like you really don't understand what that means until you have one, or if you have someone close to you that has one. It's so important to understand, and it's so important to support those around you in your community that have a small business. Number 8, I'll go ahead and say the pros of having this store allowed me to grow my social media, and it allowed me to have an online presence in my store, online for people to buy. I listed things on my website for people to buy, and it worked. People saw that I had a storefront, so therefore they wanted to buy from me online. You know, I think people get weary about that. They're like, oh, will they ship it? Is it available? No, they're able to see what I'm doing every day online on my social media, and they saw that I have a store. They have trust in me. It built this trust, and it built my social media. It grew it because I was posting a lot, showing my journey, showing what I find, what I do with it, what I sell it for. I'm just completely honest with what I'm doing on here, and people resonated with it. And it helped grow my social media. I could look back at my poster. I do a vision board every year at the beginning of the year, and I have on there, it's for my business and career and social media, and I write down my numbers of followings on things, and smashed it. Smashed what I thought I was gonna be at. It was great. It's something I always hoped for. And I'm really happy that I have my kind of people looking at me and wanting to know more. It's fun to have a community of people and share the things, right? So that is definitely a pro. And if you think you can't grow your social media, do not underestimate yourself. Post, post, post. See what sticks, something will. Number 9, the sourcing of it all. Flea markets, thrift stores, estate sales, garage sales, big trash day, curbside finds, Facebook Marketplace, free on the curb post, running around finding these gems. It's exciting. I get adrenaline when I do it. I'm just like pumped up, ready to go, so excited. It literally was just this fuel in me to go and do that. Even if I didn't want to, even if I felt like I didn't have enough money to go invest in maybe something I had to go find and flip, I had to. I know I had a business to run, money to make, rent to pay, bills to pay myself. I had to do it. So I would say that was just like a fun part of it, right? Is the sourcing, seeing what comes through the door. People started donating things, and I was kind of picky about what I would let through, but people would donate such great things, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. I felt lucky to be around these cool pieces, right? Finding a really neat lamp, or a rare vase, or this dresser, this antique, this washboard vintage stand. I felt lucky. I'm like, I'm in the presence of something that has a story. If the walls could talk. Just imagining where this has been, what lives it's seen. I really love that. I would stare at pieces that weren't selling and I would just admire it. And I'm like, I don't know how no one loves you, because I do, but then it would eventually sell. So, but yeah, I would say just being lucky enough to see these amazing pieces, right? A pro in itself is just being lucky to do this. Okay, number 10, my last pro on the list. Wonder if you guys could guess what I'm gonna say. Okay, I don't know if you did, but if you did, congrats. Number 10 is how rewarding it is to see people happy. That always made my day, is seeing someone so excited and happy to buy from me and tell people about me and their experience. Just like customer satisfaction. It gave me satisfaction. It just made all of the dots connect. Finding these things, listing these things, late nights, meetups, hard work, tears, blood, sweat, it made everything worth it. And that was the greatest success of it all, is just seeing that this worked, right? And people bought from me and were happy with what they bought. And just getting that picture the next day of how they style something they bought from me, it made me even happier. All right, let's get to the negatives. It's what y'all all wanna know anyway, right? That's why you're here. And let's not even call them negatives. Let's call them cons. It's what I said in the beginning, the pros and cons. But there are negatives, like any job, like anything you do. There's always gonna be negatives. And looking back a year ago at myself, I'm like, oh my God, you were so optimistic. You go, girl. Because now I'm like, not so much. And now I would do things differently. And I wish I wouldn't have maybe taken this leap, because I felt like I wasn't that ready. But I can't have any regrets. It's already done. It's already been done with and over with, and I learned so much. But I just want to point all these things out for y'all because that's why y'all are here. Number 1 on the cons list, the expenses and costs of living in Austin, Texas, where I did it, which is a very expensive place. Probably the number 1 place people are moving right now, which, yeah, I knew that, but I've been here longer than them. So I just thought, oh, this is the cost of living here. The price for rent is what it costs. You know, I can't find anywhere cheaper. When you add up your rent and overhead costs and everything in between, unexpected expenses, day-to-day, gas, everything, it's a lot. And I knew that, and I did a financial breakdown going into this, thinking I can make this a month and it won't be a problem. And like I said, I'm so optimistic, but it's a lot more than you think. And whatever you think it is, times it by 5. I'm just gonna say that right now. Whatever you think you're gonna be spending, times it by 5. So, something unexpected that happened to me as a naive first small business owner, owning a storefront. When I got this place, they just weren't transparent enough. They didn't communicate all the costs that would go into it. I had thought I asked enough questions. I looked through my lease. I signed a 12-month lease right then and there. I was like, this is the spot. The rent makes sense. I'm gonna sign this and I'm going for it. And I had about 15 days to prepare before I moved in. And 2 days before I moved in, they, forgot to tell me, they add taxes to my rent every month, and they split it between each tenant, and it was gonna be about $300 more onto my rent, which is a lot. It's a lot. It was a lot more than I thought, but I said, okay, all right, you know, like we have to plan for this. We had to be prepared for something like this. It's happening, we're already doing it. There's no turning back, gotta make it work. So I try to stay positive about it, but then 2 months into me leasing this place, I guess every November is when they get their taxes raised or whatever, and so they raised my taxes even more. So then I'm paying even more, only 2 months into starting my business. So I'm already paying way more than I want for rent. The economy right now, unfortunately, helped raise my electric bill, Wi-Fi bill, gas going to work, taxes are higher. So all these things I just felt naive to kind of hit me all at once, and things got high really quick. So I'm having to work 10 times harder, 10 times later, and make it work. And look, I'll be honest with y'all, I made it work. I would find things to flip and I would sell them, and I was an animal. I was just moving and grooving and not looking back, put my head down and worked, and I was able to make money. Now, was I rolling in personally? Probably not. Probably not enough. And that's the part that kind of hurts my soul a little. It's like, felt like this past year I didn't get to enjoy life because I was worried about money and paying rent. I was able to profit, which, you know, some people can't say, so I'm thankful for that. But just so y'all know, this takes a lot more than you think. Now, if you're doing a thrift store where you're getting constant donations, that's different. But me, I'm functioning based off of what I find and what I'm flipping. And I wasn't taking that many donations, like I said. I was probably getting about 1 to 2 donations a month, but it wasn't bringing in the dough like I thought it would. 6 months into my business, things started slowing down. The first 6 months, things were moving, but the next 6 months, the latter half of my lease, things slowed down like I was scared. I started getting scared because people just weren't buying things on Facebook Marketplace as much, and the foot traffic slowed. People didn't have this extra income to come and shop and buy little things that were just fun to buy like you do at a thrift store, and you just walk around and look around. People would just walk in, walk out, and it would break my heart. But I slowly realized that, oof, like this is not a good time to be in business, brick and mortar, because people just don't have that extra income right now. So that hit me, right? Okay, but I'm still making it work. I'm still hustling. I got rent to pay. So that was a long reason behind that con, but it's very important to know. And I don't want to lie to anyone. I want to be transparent, because if you're wanting to do this, you gotta know all these things. Oh, number 2 on my list is the decline in vintage prices. 4 years ago, you probably would be able to sell an antique for $4,000. Today, September 20th, 2024, you could probably sell that same piece for $300. It's gotten oversaturated. The market, Facebook market, people are selling things because they know they can make money on there. People have caught on. 4 years ago, it wasn't as popular. So by the time I had a store, people were doing it. Especially in my area, it's like a spider web of vintage. Everyone moves here, things are getting donated, things are having estate sales, people from all these different places. Everyone lives in Austin. Millions of people move here every year. I feel like this place has gotten really cool. There's cool pieces. There's so many neat things on Marketplace, but people just aren't buying them anymore because they know how to find them. They know where to go now. They know to go to estate sales. They know to go to Big Trash Day. They know how to find them. So they're not spending the money that people once were on these vintage items, right? So therefore in my area, there's been a decline in prices and what you can make on these vintage pieces. Now, you can pay for shipping to ship things and list things on First Dibs and these high-end luxury marketplaces, but they're gonna sit. They might sit for a year. They're gonna sit if you want that number. And if you can, yay. Me, I got rent to pay, and I got a mortgage, and I got bills, and I need to eat. So I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna list things for what they will sell for in my area, what I know they'll sell for. So if I have a $4,000 antique, I'm gonna sell it for $400 within the day. But I got it for dirt cheap, maybe 10 bucks, you know? You just gotta do what makes sense to you. So just keep all these things in mind, which leads me to my third con, which is an oversaturated market we're living in right now in the vintage world. So many people are reselling. Goodwill is picked apart. Thrift stores aren't the same. I really felt like my place was unique because I'm finding a lot on the curb. I'm finding an assortment amount of things. The theme was funky, everything, modern, vintage, cool, unique, antiques, one of a kind, refinished. I had such an eclectic amount of pieces and things and littles, and it just was like this experience that I couldn't get in another thrift store, that I recreated for myself and what I would want in a thrift store. But it's hard to find that nowadays. Not to mention, there's been a lot of people opening up thrift stores or vintage stores, whatever you want to call it. There's too many now, right? There's too many places to go, not enough buyers. It's become oversaturated, at least in my area. But if you wonder why things aren't selling on Marketplace or eBay or da-da-da, this might be the reason too for you. Number 4 on the cons list, management, wearing all the hats. You have all the hats. If you have no employees and it's just you, prepare to be overwhelmed. But yes, it's gotta get done, so someone's gotta do it. Let's just start with inventory, pricing, listing. It's hard to keep up. The admin of it all. The one thing I had to do is list everything on Facebook Marketplace to get people in. My location didn't have enough foot traffic. I was on Apple and Google Maps. It brought people in, but I didn't have that foot traffic. So I had to rely on the random people that would walk in all day, and I had to rely on Facebook Marketplace listings and what I was reselling on my website. So I had all these different hands and pots and just like hope and maybe they'll buy. If someone walks in, they'll buy this. Like, I had to put my trust in people and just work on listing things constantly. So keeping track of everything, there were some days someone would ask me, hey, is this still available? And I would say yes. And then I'd be like, oh, it's actually not. And that's on me and I'm so sorry. But it was very hard. I was constantly spinning. My wheels were constantly turning. I was looking at my security footage to make sure I had something. If someone ordered something or did this or picking up for that, I just was like constantly spinning. Very hard to maintain and manage. So that is on my cons list because to this day, I still feel like I'm spinning from that. It was a lot. This one's pretty obvious. Number 5 on my cons list is long days, long hours, and no life. Give it all up. And maybe a year afterwards, you're doing so well, you've invested all this time and money and energy that you don't even have to work as much because now you can hire people. Not in my case. I was working such long hours, making about the same every month, and I was getting burnt out. But just be prepared for that. There was always that constant pressure of rent, 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 rent. And I'm sure a lot of people who don't even have a business or is thinking about it can relate to this by having rent or a mortgage. It's just this constant thing in your mind that you can't shake because you have bills to pay. Number 6 is the stress and lowball offers. I don't know about y'all, but when someone lowballs me, I'm heated. It's just like this anger. To be frank, yeah, it would make me mad. But I couldn't be angry, right? The customer is always right. Sometimes I would get a little sassy because that's just me. That's just me. I was born out the womb sassy. My mom said I came into this world screaming, crying, angry. But it's made me really hardworking and headstrong. Let's just give an example, right? I'm never gonna tell people that I need your money. Oh, like if you lowball me, I probably want to accept it because I need the money, but I'm gonna do my best to negotiate because it's probably priced really low and you know it and I know it and you should pay the price because you're supporting a small business owner, you're getting a good deal and a great product out of it, right? So, for example, I had 2 beautiful antique chairs. They were French. They had this pink floral and blue stitch. Oh my God, I should just share a picture. Let me share a picture. Stunning, 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 stunning chairs that I loved. And I'm just like, at this point, no one wants to buy them. They were sitting for 6 months. Why? I don't know, because they're gorgeous. They're on Marketplace, they're in store, they're online, they're everywhere. No one would buy them. And then all of a sudden, people started showing interest in them. I'm like, what? I noticed that if you rearrange your store, people show interest in other things that may have been sitting. So I had to do constant rearranging, but whatever. We enjoyed that part, right? Yes, I did. I had this guy walk in and he walked in with like 3 wives. Not that it matters, I'm not judging, but I was just like, oh, hi, you know, how are y'all? Well, interesting, to say the least. And he picked out like 5 items. I'm like, great. And they were just a walk-in. They were a walk-in, which thankful for. But every single item he picked out, he lowballed me on. And by the way, these things are already good deals. It's a vintage thrift store. Like, I'm giving people good deals, I promise. And I'm willing to negotiate, but I feel like your vibe towards me has to be right. Like, I have to feel that you really want this in order for me to wiggle, you know? So this guy's vibe was not good. I'm trying to remember the conversation. But basically he was interested in these 2 chairs because one of his wives liked them. and they were sitting in them, and he starts trying to talk me down. My original price on these chairs were $150 each, so $300 for the pair. At that time, I would have probably accepted $250 had he offered that. But instead, he offered me $100 each chair. And on other things, he was like lowballing me. He got these 3 nesting tables and a couple of art pieces. And the nesting tables I had 60 on, and ended up going down to $30 just to like get him out of my hair. Buy something and quit, you know, just buy something. It's kind of how I felt at this point. But he started picking at me and going, he was frustrated that I wasn't budging on these chairs. And I was like, sorry, that's too low. Like, I completely understand if, you know, you can't do that, but unfortunately I can't accept your low offer of $200. So thank you, but everything else, you know, I have room to negotiate. And he goes, oh, what's $100 to you anyway? I mean, come on, you know, like, they're just, you probably just, come on, let's sell them already. Like, or, you know, who's the boss? I say, oh, I'm the boss. Yeah, so do you want what you want or not, or do you want to leave? Like, but I stood my ground. I held my shoulders very, you know, I'm the boss, you know. That's my prices. Sorry if you don't like it. I'm a small business. $100 to a small business is a lot. And it goes a long way, sir, is what I said. But then I just was like, ew, ew, what? Ew. I still can't shake that like gross feeling I had after that conversation. And anyways, he takes my card because he's got to think about those chairs, right? I'm like, okay, whatever, sure. Calls me 3 hours later after I'm closed and done, and someone bought the chairs after he left. An angel came and bought the chairs after he left. He wants to buy them now and leaves me a voicemail like, oh, hey, just wanted to let you know I thought about it. And boy, did I feel joy when I got the text and like, hey, yeah, well, they sold. Sorry, missed out, you suck, and bye. The mental roller coaster you go on, you just don't know what to expect. It's out of your control. Your days are unpredictable, and then you have to deal with people like that on top of it. And that's just one example of some of these characters I've had to deal with. Number 7 on my cons list is not having enough foot traffic. The location could have been way better. I just knew I could make it work because of Facebook Marketplace, but then Facebook Marketplace slowed down, so it kind of stopped working along the way. But I definitely would have invested more into a location with foot traffic. That's a con of what I did. Wish I would have done differently, for sure. So keeping that in mind when you're looking at locations, it's actually very important. More important than people think, especially with retail. But I didn't go into my business thinking I was gonna be a retail store. I thought I was only gonna be Facebook Marketplace and online, but I realized I could be making money with foot traffic and being on the map. It helped. I can't say it didn't. Number 8 on the cons list is the economic fluctuations we've all experienced in the past year or two, whatever. It's not political, it's just factual. Small business owners are affected by the economy right now. And that's something I just like was naive to, and I should have known that I should be prepared for that. Anything can happen, but I just felt it from others too. I just felt it. I felt that people were struggling and they wanted something but couldn't afford it. And it was definitely a con, you know? You gotta be wise on how you invest your money in any time of year, any time of economic fluctuations. You just have to be prepared. I wish I would have been more prepared. I wish I had more money saved. I wish I invested more into marketing. I didn't have enough. I had some, but not enough. And so it held me back in a lot of ways from growing, but I had to make it work and I had to pay my bills, so. Number 9 is being physically and mentally exhausted at all times. It's a blur. It's really a blur. And I felt like I got no sleep and I was stressed and blah, 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 blah. As of today, I feel a lot better. But there are still things that keep me up at night where I'm like, oh my gosh, I was stressing so bad. My stomach hurt, so worried, so stressed. I couldn't do it. I didn't want to do it. If you're thinking about doing this, you are a strong, independent person that can hold your own and wake up every day and find that motivation. I hope something motivates you to keep going, or just find it within yourself, because that's the only thing that kept me going through the exhaustion and stress of it all. Now, if you guys want me to go into more details and you have any questions, please just comment. Please comment and tell me what you think and have any questions. I can do another video. I'm being a little vague just because this is a pros and cons to owning a resale thrift store. But if I need to go more into details on some things, comment what you want to see. I need to know. I don't know, so you gotta tell me. 10 on the cons list. How difficult it was to scale without employees. Had I had employees, had I been able to afford employees, oh my goodness, I would still be in business for sure. Definitely. I couldn't afford it. Point blank, period. It cost, and I did not have that room. I had enough room to pay myself, and that was about it. And it wasn't even enough, you know? Like, I was just like, okay, that's what we made this month. Okay, at least it's something. It would have definitely helped me stay in business, but that goes into the I wish I would have had more money saved going into this. A lot of these cons would not be on my list had I had employees, because they would have taken away a lot of that stress and worry and concern and admin and hats. They would have worn some of them. Since I didn't have employees and it was just me, I get to carry all of that. Keep that in mind for sure. Okay, so those are my 10 pros and cons of owning a storefront for reselling vintage, okay? Now, let's talk about the 5 things I would do differently. I would have first chosen a better location. Second, I would have saved more money for overhead and unexpected expenses, and just to carry me through any of those stressful times. I would have waited a lot longer, but had I waited, I would have never done this, and now I know that I could be doing this out of a way smaller space and just converting a room in my house or just my garage or a storage unit and trying to make this work out of either of those 3 for a fraction of the price. So start small, maybe not go so big first time around. I did do a storage unit before I did this, but I've always wanted to own a store, and like I said, it was a dream come true. But there's so many factors to keep in mind. Number 3 is maybe have a partner and hire people. For sure, for sure. Number 4, have a marketing strategy. Posting on social media was great, but I didn't know enough about marketing, and it could have been done better, for sure. I put out yard signs and A-frames and did Facebook groups in my local community, and I did Facebook Marketplace ads. I did a lot, but there's so much that I don't know, and I wish I would have known more. And number 5, maybe not be so naive and talk to people that have done this before and really figured out what I was getting myself into. That is something I would have done, but it would have changed my mind. And I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad I didn't let fear win, and I went for it, and now I get to say I did it, and who knows where I go from here. So I guess it's not something I would have done differently, but something I would have informed myself of prior. So now, before I get into the conclusion of it all, please subscribe, because your girl is on YouTube now, and I'm loving it, and I'm loving talking to y'all, and I want to hear your comments, and I want to know if you've owned a thrift store or a retail store or a small business. I want to know. I want to talk to y'all. I want to connect. Please comment, and let's talk about it. Seriously, it's so important. Like, I'm sitting here telling y'all my experience because I want more people to know, and I want to know more about people. If that made any sense. To summarize it all, I'm feeling good. It's been 20 days since I've officially been out of my store. And looking back on the last year and examining my 10 pros, my 10 cons, and remembering all these moments, I'm thankful. I feel thankful, I feel lucky, and I feel motivated just talking about it. It kind of makes me want to cry because it felt like this pivotal moment in my life that I couldn't enjoy, but I should have, and maybe I will realize I enjoyed it later on. But it's just something I'm still digesting, and I haven't really wanted to announce to like my social media that I closed down, because I feel a little bit ashamed. But coming on here and just kind of expressing the expenses of it all, the stresses of it all, and realizing I can do things differently and still be successful at it, to me that's growth. And I just want to be honest with everyone here. So this is me saying I closed my store down, but here's what I would do differently. and here's what I would like to do in the future. I'm not opposed to owning another store in the future, but it will be a while before I even consider that, just because I need to kind of take a break and learn, grow, examine, and pivot. I need to grow from here. I need to figure out what it is I really would like to do if I do it again. But I'm still gonna be posting on social media and doing my big trash days and reselling and doing Facebook Marketplace and selling on my website. I'm still going to be doing all of that, but I'm having to take a moment for myself and figure it out. But keep following me on socials, keep subscribing to me on YouTube. I'm not done here, and I still want to show all my finds, but I'm only human, and I literally just feel like drained from this past year. But I'm feeling better day by day, 20 days, and I'm feeling like I can finally get in front of a camera and explain what my experience was. And it probably sounds like I'm being negative about it, and I think I'm just more wanting to tell people the negatives so they know it, because I feel like I didn't know them. But overall, my experience was good, and I'm very proud of myself, and I did it, and that's all I can say is I'm proud of myself. And you should be proud of yourself if you ever try and do something like this as well, or if you're already doing it and you need this motivation to get through it and figure out what you need to do in order to be successful at it. When it came down to deciding if I want to renew my lease or not, and I had to make that decision, I decided after giving it a lot of thought and considering a lot of factors. It wasn't an easy decision, but I decided I do not want to go through another year of stress. And I think I can find ways to make it work again, but not with this location. And I just want to take a little bit of time for myself to be able to do things again and enjoy my life and go to birthday parties and maybe like go out to dinner on Saturdays and enjoy that part of my life again before I decide to take something like this on and have that break. But continue doing what I'm doing, just not at this level of stress. So I decided I'm not renewing. I know they're gonna be raising my rent again with November around the corner. So I just said, you know what, I'm done. I'm done for now. Thankful for the experience. And we're just gonna have to move on and say we did it. So it was a hard decision, but an easy one at the same time. I know it's helped me getting out here and talking about it. So I just wanna say thank you for being here, and thank you for subscribing, and please comment, like, share, and all of the above. And if you're new here, stay tuned, because there's a lot more to come from me, and I'm not done. Cheers, thanks for being here. I'm Tipsy Flipsy, where I get a little tipsy and I flip things and show y'all, and we have fun, okay? We're fun people here. I'll see y'all next time. Let me know what y'all wanna talk about next. Cheers.